Good morning. This is Graybeard Gamifying. I'm glad you could join me. Now, I'm a big fan of the Wild West. I absolutely love a good Western. This is a genre ripe for gaming, for shooting enthusiasts, and anyone who just loves a good story. Like most avid video gamers, I played the heck out of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Easy boy.
And one of my favorite tabletop role-playing games has been Deadlands. If you're not familiar with it, it's an RPG setting that takes the Wild West and makes it weird by introducing strange beasts, steampunk style technology, dark magic, and the undead. Now, if you're already a subscriber to my channel and you've watched my archery test videos, you probably have a good idea where I'm going with this. And you're right. It's time for some good old-fashioned quick draw action. Just not from me. For one thing, I do not actually own a 6-shooter. All I have is this plastic 3D printed Colt single action Army. For another thing, although I did get a fair amount of practice rapidly drawing from my duty holster when I was still in law enforcement, never once did I ever try anything anyone could describe as a Wild West gunfighter style quick draw. So it's a good thing I know who to call.
Tight, yeah!
No. Wrong Tuco. Bad Tuco. Not that Tuco. This Tuco. A while back, I came across Tuco the Rat's channel. Now, if you haven't seen his videos, do yourself a favor right now. Go check them out. He can do some simply amazing stuff with his Colts. Give him a subscribe while you're there because it's thanks to him that this video is being made. I reached out to Tuco to see if I could use some of his videos and gamify them. And to quote the man himself, sounds cool, go for it, man. So with Tuco the Rat's blessings, we are going to gamify one of his videos that is perhaps my favorite.
I think I get it.
Tuco the Rat took the famous gunfight from the opening scenes of Fistful of Dollars and decided to see if he could replicate it with live ammo. Now, I'm going to repeat something that Tuco says a lot on his channel. Fast drawing with live ammunition is dangerous. Do not do it. Just because you see someone on the internet do something successfully does not mean that you can do it too, or that you should even try it. So don't do it, okay? Anyway, in his first video, Tuco did pretty well, but didn't quite manage to hit all of his shots. So a year later, he revisited the attempt and got some much better results. That's the video we're going to use now. So I'm going to put the link to Tuco the Rat's channel and the videos that we're going to be using in the description below. So let's dive in and take a look at gamifying some cowboy quick draw style action.
Now that red guy, I nicked his sleeve, so I know I got him technically. And I think I got that guy twice. We'll see. Run was 204. So just a hair off of my goal. Pretty sure I got that guy twice. The video will have to show it. I'll have to relook at. But I nicked that red guy in the sleeve. I know that's kind of cheap, but I'll take it. The other reason I'm struggling today is I don't have my fake cigarette. I think I did it that time. Pretty sure I did. 193. The video, we'll have to confirm it with video probably because the bullets aren't always going through the back because of what I was explaining before, the cross braces. When it hits the cross brace, and there's screws in there and everything. This one actually has a couple of nails in it too, big heavy barn nails. But Okay, we're filming in 60 frames a second again for clear slow motion. I'm going to try to do a faster run just for the slow motion. I'd like to hook up on it, but I'm going for a little more speed this time. I think I did it. Unless I missed that guy coming across. I'm not sure if I did or not. 190.
Impressive. Now, in the full video, Tuco does a couple of slower speed trial runs before attempting the scene at full speed. But gamifying that whole process would be cumbersome at best. So let's focus our attention where it matters the most: the final result. That last run through that only took him 1.9 seconds, almost exactly 2 GURPS combat rounds.
I think I did it.
So, to gamify this scene, the way I see it, we have to deal with the following components: the gun, the shooter, the targets, the conditions, then the fast draw, and then the actual shots themselves. So let's start with the gun. It is important to understand that this is not a stock Colt Model 1873 single action army. It is what Tuco calls a race gun. That means he has modified it deliberately in order to shoot fast. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that it has a fanning style hammer. So unlike a stock hammer that is rounded like this to be easier to thumb, his hammer actually goes almost vertical, making it a lot easier to hit with your hand as it comes across the top of the gun. The other thing that it means he has done is he has filed away metal at very key locations in the cylinder in order to make certain components engage more smoothly and more quickly. There's a video on Tuco's channel where he explains this process in pretty good detail. I'll link that down in the bottom as well. He's also using light loads here instead of full power loads. Now, the reasoning for this is safety. With full power loads, the recoil of a 45 long Colt could be difficult to handle at best when you're shooting this fast, especially with a modified gun. Now, this is a fact that Tuco fully acknowledges himself. In game terms, that might reduce the effects of felt recoil and delivered damage, but as you're going to see later, neither of those is actually going to factor into what he does here from a GURPS rules perspective. So what should we give this gun in terms of stats? Well, GURPS High Tech gives the single action army an accuracy of 2 and a rate of fire of 1. It's pretty typical for a revolver. But what is more important here is that this is one of Tuco's heavily personalized guns. He has spent hours modifying it, tuning it, practicing with it, probably thousands of rounds fired through this thing. So we can easily apply the weapon bond perk, which is going to give him a +1 to his gun's pistol skill. So now let's look at the shooter. For starters, there is no trace of dodging here. There is no intent to actively defend whatsoever. His goal is to eliminate his opponents as quickly as possible so that they can't effectively attack him. Now, ordinarily, that would absolutely qualify as an all-out attack, wouldn't it? But we can't apply it here. Why not? I'll explain in a little bit. Bear with me. So let's look at the targets then. They're pretty straightforward. We got 5 bad guys facing off against our gunslinger. They're normal, humanoid-sized, shaped targets who are essentially stationary. In fact, in the movie scene itself, 2 of them are even sitting on the fence. So let's call it no modifier for target size or target speed. Okay. Now, the range. I estimate the range at about 7 yards. That would give us a range penalty of -3. If I'm off a little bit, if I'm on the high side, if I think it's further than it is, it's still going to work out to that -3. If it's a little longer than I think it is, it might bump up to a -4, but I'm pretty comfortable with my estimation here. So I'm going to stick with 7 yard range, -3 penalty. As far as other conditions, it's full daylight. In fact, Tuco has very smartly put the sun at his side, so neither is he blinded nor is he silhouetted by it. No modifier for lighting conditions or for visibility. Now, this is a specific set of actions that Tuco has practiced over and over again. He is performing them under controlled range conditions. Now, core GURPS would suggest that you could just apply a simple +4 non-combat, non-adventuring bonus to the attempt. However, as was recommended to me by several commenters in my archery videos, I recently picked up a copy of GURPS Tactical Shooting, which opens up a lot more options. Now, to be frank, Tactical Shooting kind of nukes this out a little bit, but one of the things that I really like about GURPS is that you can go as deep into the weeds as you want to, whether that's all the way up to your neck or just dipping a little toe in. Tactical Shooting provides a component by component method for calculating non-combat modifiers for shooting situations. +1 if there's no risk to yourself, plus another one if there's no risk to anyone else, plus another one if there's no political ramifications or combat significance to what you're doing, no military stake in the outcome, and so on. It's a little dizzying, to be honest. But the most important thing that I'm going to say here is this, quote, "The GM decides when these bonuses accrue." When I gamify stuff, I am in effect sitting in the big chair. Now, I agree, Tuco's situation here is not true combat. He is the only one there, and he has taken precautions to be as safe as he can be. But that doesn't mean it is a no-stress environment. First, he's trying really hard here to simulate a Hollywood action scene. He's pushing himself to the limit, and he knows it. What's more, he's doing it for public consumption and everything that brings with it. That's definitely going to be worth some stress. And second, he's basically going up against Clint Eastwood.
Get off my lawn.
If that isn't worth a little stress, I don't know what is. So if you want to mentally add a couple more modifiers from Tactical Shooting, then by all means, do so with my blessing. Let me know in the comments what you decide to apply and why. But for the purposes of this video, as the gamifying GM, I'm just going to give him a basic +2 bonus. Because despite the stress that I did point out, in the end, he still is just shooting at wood and cardboard stands wearing old shirts and hats. So now let's look a little bit at the fast draw itself. Tactical Shooting, again, gives us the opportunity to give Tuco a +2 bonus to his fast draw skill because he's going to be shooting from the hip. The time he saves by not lining up the sights makes him far more likely to get his shots off first. There's going to be another bonus to this later on, and it comes in a bit later. The shots themselves. Here's the drawback to hip shooting. You can't use your sights. Tuco is relying on pure muscle memory and an intimate understanding of how his guns shoot. And there's your weapon bond perk again. This is why he can't enjoy the benefit of an all-out attack. Per the rules in tactical shooting, firing from the hip only allows unsighted shooting, which, although it lets you ignore up to -1 in darkness penalties, it completely eliminates the opportunity to use either the aim maneuver or the all-out attack determined option. Now, it also says that unsighted shooting grants a +1 to fast draw on top of any bonuses for hip shooting. To me, that feels a little like double dipping, but I'm trying to stick closely to the rules as written, so we'll have to go back and give Tuco a further +1 to his fast draw. That accuracy of 2 that we assigned to the gun doesn't matter. He's not doing an aim maneuver. He can't. Now let's talk about the rate of fire. We established that the gun itself has a base rate of fire of 1, typical for a single action revolver. But Tuco is fanning the hammer, which increases the rate of fire to 2, with further penalties that will let you go as high even as a rate of fire of 5. Now, it gets progressively difficult when you do this. Fanning, in order to get a rate of fire of 2, gives you a -4 penalty to your gun's pistol skill. Each further increase will give you a further -2 penalty. However, again, we look to tactical shooting rules because there's a technique for this. Fanning is a hard technique that lets you buy off up to -4 of that penalty. The maximum you can learn the technique is your gun's pistol skill. Now, the fastest rate of fire that Tuco achieves throughout these attempts is right there in that last one, that 1.9 second run through. He gets off 4 shots in 1 turn. So let's assume he's going for that rate of fire of 4 by fanning. That would give him a -8 to his skill. But especially given the amount of practice Tuco has put into his fast draw technique, into his fanning technique, we can very safely assume that he has maxed it out. So we can eliminate -4 from that. And that'll leave him with a -4 penalty for the rapid firing. As for recoil, tactical shooting says that that doesn't actually kick in with fanning until you hit rate of fire 5. So even if Tuco was to use full power loads, the game rules say it won't affect his skill, even if practical matters of safety say otherwise. Now we run into a hiccup. Tuco is facing off against 4 targets. And as you can see in the last turn, that last second, though actually 0.9 seconds, he gets off 4 shots and hits 4 separate targets in 1 single turn. Even using the multiple attacks option from tactical shooting, which allows a gunman to make a ranged rapid strike, to take 2 attacks from a single gun at a -6 to each attack, the rules say that what Tuco does is impossible. It says that those 2 attacks can only be made against 2 different targets that are both within a 30-degree angle. Now, I said I estimated the range at 7 yards. I'm estimating the total separation between the left target and the right target to be about 6 yards. So if those figures are accurate, and if I've done my math correctly, that means that the angle between those outermost targets is around 50 degrees. Even if you reduce the separation estimate to only about 4 yards, it's still going to be a 33-degree angle, so it's going to break that rule, regardless of the fact that he is hitting 4 targets, not 2. Right now, before we even tally up any of the modifiers, we've hit a critical snag. The rules as written say that what we saw Tuco do with our own eyes is not possible. So how do we reconcile that?